It's your boy, Amreezy, and I'm back with another Road to Sorare Boss episode where we follow my journey in the wonderful world of Sorare and we have a good time. We talk all things Sorare. I show you my teams that I'm going to be doing for the weekend, cards that I'm buying, the reasons why, tactics I have, and we're having a lot of fun. I mean, I'm really enjoying this time. This is the first, I've not been on Sorare for a year yet. So this is the first time I'm experiencing the Premier League season and the European seasons ending and there being a summer break when the card prices come down. Now, the cards have come down in general since the roadmap changes. However, there is always and historically has been, if you look at the card prices in the past, sales during the summer break. So the prices of cards have come down and they seem to be coming down towards the end of the season when people can't play with them and people don't find them as useful or they don't get bored. But for me, for players playing on like a bit of a budget, trying to be clever with their funds, this is when I go shopping. So I think it's now started. I've now started my spending for next season. And I've picked up a few more cards. I'll show you them later who I've bought. But basically, this period of the season for me is about building for August. I've got some Mexican cards still who are playing right now, but Santos have been knocked out of the league. They're not going to the playoff stage, so I'm not going to get much use from my Santos cards. And my goalkeeper is from Santos, so that means putting together a team of Mexican players from the Liga MX is hard unless I get another goalkeeper. But I don't really want to keep investing into that league where my priorities next season want to be Premier League Classic and Championship Classic. So that's kind of where I'm moving towards whilst keeping a contender. Is it contender or is it challenger? It might be challenger. Contender. It's contender. I still haven't gotten used to it. It's hard because they're all beginning with C. But yeah, the bottom one, the scrap heap one, I've still got a team and I'll still be having a team for next season in that league with the kind of Liga MX cards that I have because I love Santos, I love Liga MX. So I'm going to want the best players from that league, but I'm not going to be buying as many as I kind of originally was of, say, a few months ago. So with that in mind, I've been shopping. That's what this time of the season is for me, but I'm still kind of playing and putting lineups where I can. So let's start off this video by looking at how I did last weekend in what was April the 26th to the 30th. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, here we go with the beginning of the review of last weekend. There is a week currently happening, a midweek when, again, it's been a quiet midweek for me. So no real lineups put out midweek, mainly just building on the XP midweek. Last weekend, though, April the 26th to the 30th, I mean, at one point, it felt like I was close to a reward. The under-23 squad was the best team I had last weekend. We got 305 points. If I'd have just had a striker, if I'd have just had a regular striker for the under-23s, we would have had a good time. I used to have a striker. I've been having problems with a striker. One of the cards I bought recently is a striker. So hopefully for the remainder of the season, my under-23 squad striker might become more interesting. But again, Kamil Nejli let me down, didn't play enough. The goalkeeper didn't have the best score, but I think we would have scraped a reward if the striker had done better. And then if the goalkeeper had done better as well, we might have had a better chance. So, I mean, it felt like we were close. I feel like I've got good cards to build around. Conor Gallagher is a great card. Soleil is a great card. Carrillo at Santos, a gift. His last game for a while because Santos now have a long season break. But he was a good card while he lasted. And he's young. So he's an exciting player for a Santos fan. I'm going to build around him. He's going to be a key card for me. He's probably the best Santos player on Sorare. So Jordan Carrillo was a good card to have. But with him not playing anymore, with Chelsea not being in good form, it means that my form of my under-23 squad is going to suffer now till next season. So we're going to put out lineups where we can, but I'm kind of not expecting much unless I can pick up a few bargains here or there towards the end. So this is how the under-23 squad did. I mean, Soleil, best scorer, great card. I think it might be his last season as an under-23 card. So what I really want from him now is a move in the summer to one of the big European clubs. That's my hopes for him. But even if he stays at RB Salzburg, he's a really good scorer. So he won't be in the under-23 league anymore. But if I can put regular 80s in, say, whatever league he goes to next, even if it's challenger, contender, whatever it is, he's like a solid defender that I can kind of rely on most weeks if he stays where he is. And if he moves, maybe he goes up in value a lot. Maybe he gets more points at the next club. So happy with the kind of cards that I have, basically. So just the striker. Once again, striker I need to sort out. And then the other leagues I did in weren't as good as the under 23s, but the cap 270 was Santos let me down again on their final day. I was hoping Acevedo might sign off the season with at least a clean sheet or something, but nothing there. Quadda Fiorentina has been doing really well lately. 105 points from him. Delighted with him. You know, a few weeks ago, he kind of went out of the team. He was coming off the bench for a bit. I was thinking of selling him, but now I'm keeping him. Now he's a solid Serie A card, one of the best defenders. When Fiorentina have a good fixture like they had last weekend and the weekend before, and I think this weekend coming up, when Fiorentina have a good fixture, he's a great card to have. Best there was a bit of a disappointment considering his high standards. One of my best cards. He had a 52, even though it was against, I think, the bottom of the league team or something like that. They only won 1-0, which wasn't great. I was banking on him getting some more. Palhinha at Fulham, not the best score. And then Aguirre, the striker at Atlas. That's now his last game for the summer. There are a few cup competitions for the Mexican teams, like some kind of cup competitions, but these kind of teams like Santos and Atlas, they're probably not going to go far in that cup as well. So I might get a few midweeks from my Santos and Atlas cards, but in terms of Liga MX, their season's done now, so they've got to wait till the next season. So that was 270, and then 220 was really bad. The Sordo for Santos didn't even play. Goalkeeper, average. Crystal Palace defender Munoz, on his day, really attacking. I thought Fulham could be a bit vulnerable because they've kind of, not really got much to play for now, Fulham, with the last few games of the season left, but Palace didn't take advantage of that. And also Palace were on some really good form. They just put some really good performances together before the Fulham game and then nothing. And then it was a bit of a gamble with the Newcastle lads. Neither of these two cards are super high scorers, but they kind of fitted the profile of not great L15s, so are good for the cap 220, and then have Sheffield United at home. So I thought maybe one of them could have picked up a written assist or a fluky goal, but no, it wasn't to be. So nothing really exciting to report from the weekend just gone. I do think this may be the sort of trend until August now for me, just because a lot of my Liga MX cards are fading away. I need a goalkeeper to play my Premier League cards, but even if I get a Premier League goalkeeper, there's only 3 or 4 games left of the Premier League season. So is it worth just waiting for the which is what I'm doing. I'm waiting for the summer break when some of those keeper prices come down, and then we're going to hit August. But what it means is that I'm constantly scouting the market. I'm constantly looking for bargains. I'm building up my collections of Chelsea and Santos. So as you can see here, Santos is at 3% and Chelsea's at 2%. Chelsea's almost at 3%. So I'm building up these collections, and I'm also looking out for bargains. So the kind of where I'm looking at are players that are injured right now, or players that I think have had a bad season this season and could have a good season next season. So with that in mind, since last week, the cards that I've bought. So the last card I showed you that I bought was Callum Wilson. I bought Callum Wilson last week, and he, I didn't think he'd return so quickly, but he's just come back from injury. So I got him for 75p just when he came back for injury with next season in mind. I'm hoping Wilson leaves Newcastle and gets first team football somewhere else, or as he proved this weekend, he's a great super sub for Newcastle. Came off the bench and scored. And if we look at Callum Wilson kind of before he got injured, we've gone too far back. We've scrolled too far back. If we look at Callum Wilson before he got injured, he basically was popping up with goals off the bench for Newcastle a lot. So he has these games where sometimes, he comes off the bench and doesn't do anything, but his ratio from coming off the bench and scoring is like 70, a 60, a 61, a 60, a 64. So look at this, he has peaks and then he has these dips. So when he's a substitute for Newcastle, this was early in the season. This is the beginning of the season. He's got it in him. And there was talks of him being in the England squad. So I was excited about Callum Wilson for next season in the hope that maybe he leaves Newcastle. And even if he doesn't leave Newcastle, maybe he can keep this. Maybe as well, if Newcastle get European football, they kind of come up with a policy where one player plays in Europe, one player plays in the Premier League. I think Callum Wilson is good enough to stay at Newcastle and be a good card, or move and be an even better card. So I got him for 75p. He scored at the weekend straight away, which was very good for me, made me feel better about buying him. So possibly the end of the season, he might give me a few games. They got Burnley at the weekend, so I'm going to be putting him in one of my teams this week. In I think maybe my cap 220 where his L15's low, but if he comes off the bench again against Burnley, Callum Wilson could be a good card. So that was the last card that I bought last week. Since then, I bought this boy from Mexico, Paradea. I like him because look at his scores. Good scores. Plays for Necaxa, who are a team that I like in Mexico. 88, 100, 83. So he's been getting a lot of good scores lately. I got him for what I think is a good price, £1.75. And I've also got a Necaxa defender, Alan Montes, and a Necaxa midfielder is Brian. So I've got probably the best three scorers from Necaxa now. I'm monitoring the market. If I can just maybe pick up a goalkeeper and a striker from Necaxa, the striker's the problem because the best striker that they have isn't on Sorare. So I might have to just have a mini stack of Necaxa and have it with a striker from another team. So I am monitoring Necaxa's goalkeeper. He's on the auction at the moment. I just don't really want to pay but they're in the playoff stage of the season, Necaxa. But if they lose that first playoff game, they're out of the playoffs, and then I've got no use for the Necaxa cards until next season. So I'm holding off till I see bargains, and he was a bargain in my opinion. The other three cards I bought, João Felix, I'm very excited about. He helps with my Chelsea collection from that year. When I first came on the market, I wanted João Felix. I was like seeing him for about £30, and I was like, I'll keep an eye on him. Maybe when the summer break, when his price comes down, I can get him because he's a bit like Callum Wilson. He's not had the best season on loan at Barcelona, but he's come off the bench a few times and scored. So he's a card for next season, big time. I just hope he moves to a good team, basically. He needs it. He's still technically a youth under-23 striker. He's an under-23 striker, so he's now my best under-23 striker, even though he's 23 years old. Until the end of the season, I can play him in my under-23 striker division. And I just got to hope Barcelona play him a bit more. Now that the season's winding down, I hope he gets a few more minutes in the last few games and can do something off the bench. So I'm excited about him for next season. I'd love him to move to a slightly smaller team that's still in the Champions League. Maybe one of the Portuguese giants. Maybe he comes back to the Premier League. I don't know. I just feel like there's a good player there. I saw him in the flesh when he came to Chelsea, and there were glimpses of a really good player there. He just came to Chelsea at a horrible time when we were in transition, and he needed a comfortable setup. He needs to go to a team that's set up where he knows he's playing every week and he can kind of be the main guy. I think at Barcelona, he's not the main guy. If he goes back to Atleti, he's not going to be the main guy. He needs to go to a slightly smaller club and be the main guy. So I'm really hoping, I think I got him for a good price. I'm hoping next season this really pays off. And he also helps with my Chelsea collection. So love that. The other two players I bought are for my thinking next season. I want to be playing Premier League Classic and I want to be playing Champion Classic. So I need to build up my cards in the Premier League. So I'm looking for, I think the teams I'm targeting are Chelsea, obviously. Chelsea, Newcastle, West Ham, and Manchester United. They're the four teams I'm going to target next season. I think West Ham and Man United are having bad seasons, but if there's a strong chance they're going to change their managers and could have a completely different season next year. So I'm going to see if there's bargains like Zuma, like Luke Shaw, who's injured, so his price has come really low. The next season, Luke Shaw comes back from injury, Man United have a different manager, and he can really kick on. Same with Zuma. I think if West Ham get a new, it's likely that Moyes is going to go. So I'm eyeing up Zuma as the kind of defender from West Ham. And then I kind of am eyeing up Ward-Prowse, Bowen, Paquetá. Probably two of those three, I think, as a West Ham mini stack. And then they've got Antonio as a striker at West Ham. I think if they sign a striker and I can get that striker, that's a nice West Ham stack. Areola in goal as well. A nice little West Ham stack there. Mix it with a Chelsea stack and a Manchester United stack and a Newcastle stack. So I've got Wilton. I've got a few of the other players. I'm looking at if I could get Gordon or Isaac. I think they're a few good players. So what I'm doing is not going for like the Arsenal, Man City, the most expensive cards. I'm trying to build up a pool of still good cards that if I play the fixtures, they can be good for next season. So they are the cards that I've bought since last week. I'm still going to be targeting these kind of cards in the coming week. So I'm looking out for bargains. I'm looking out for cards for next season. And yeah, that's my strategy. Let me know in the comments if you think it's good or bad. To give you the video a like and a subscribe, I really do appreciate it. But the comments are really helpful, especially on X as well, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Give me advice there when I sort of show you my teams and stuff. It all helps. I love it. I love the advice. It's a great community. Keep it coming. So that's how we did last weekend. That's how my portfolio is looking. Let's finish off the video by looking at this weekend coming and the lineups that I'm able to sort of scramble together. Here we go. These are my teams for the weekend coming up, which will be May the 3rd to the 7th. We're approaching the end of the European season. We're just trying to put out as many teams as we can while the season's still here. So the main team, I think, is the under-23s. It's my goalkeeper from Paris FC. He's the only goalkeeper we have, so he's got to play. Soleil again in defense, been on a good run. RB Salzburg trying to finish the season strong. So let's see how he does. Gallagher captain. Now, Chelsea had a good result last game, 2-2. They salvaged the draw against Aston Villa. It's once again me just hoping Chelsea showed signs of promise. Can they build on this and have a bit of momentum now? Probably not, because that's what's happened this season. Every time there's been a slight glimmer of hope, we've lost the next game. So let's see what happens with Chelsea. If they do well, it's a good game to have. West Ham at home. West Ham sort of given up a little bit this season now. They're out of Europe. Moyes might be leaving. So I'm hoping Chelsea can capitalize on that and be the lesser of the bad teams, basically. So if Chelsea have a good game, could have a clean sheet, which is why Trevor Chalobah's in the team. And Conor Gallagher, since Enzo Fernandez is injured for the end of the season, Conor Gallagher is now the kind of main guy in midfield, the main central midfielder in terms of creativity. So hoping that in Fernandez's absence, Gallagher can kind of step up again, like he has been doing the last few games. He scored a nice goal in the last game, and he's been taking corners, and he's sort of been creative. So happy with these two Chelsea cards. And then new Chelsea card, but at Barcelona, João Felix is going to be in the team. Don't really know what to expect with him. Likely going to be on the bench because Barcelona have Lewandowski, Rafinha, and Lamal. That's their front three. And then they've got, other challenging kids in there. So João Felix, with him being on loan, isn't probably likely to start. But if he comes off the bench, it's an important game as well. So my sort of ideal scenario here is that, ideal scenario is that he somehow plays. I don't see that happening though, but because it's a big game, it's 3rd v 4th. They're both battling for Champions League football. I think maybe it's close. It's like 1-1, 2-2, 60 minutes to go. Barcelona need a goal. João Felix comes off the bench and then can be involved in some kind of decisive. That's the kind of long gameplay. There's not really any options I have instead of João Felix, so I've got to put him in. Even if he doesn't do well, I'm going to be keeping him in the under-23 squad till the end of the season because I'm also building up his levels. I'm also building up his XP points so that next season, when I actually plan on really wanting to use him as like a champion striker, hopefully, his level will have been built up, his XP will have been built up. So I'm kind of also building him up for next season by putting him in my lineups for the next few weeks. And then I'm going for the Cap 270. It's Bilal from Turkey in goal. Again, didn't have any other options. It was either him or we sacrificed the under-23 goalkeeper. So he's going to be in goal, but he's hit and miss. He does well sometimes against good teams. He does bad. We don't really know what to expect with him, but let's see what he does. Fiorentina defender is staying in the team again because he's once again got a nice fixture. It is away, which I don't like, but it's against Hellas Verona, which for Fiorentina is a good game. Fiorentina as well, still challenging for those European places. So if he can give me another good score, happy days. We're going to be sticking with Best there from Germany, and we're going to be making him captain because he's playing Mainz, who are another struggling team. So these two cards in my 270 this week, really good fixtures for them. He's got a home game, which is why I'm making him captain. He's got an away game, but still a good fixture. And then I've got two players from the Newcastle-Burnley game, which I think could give me some returns. Burnley, I'm liking Josh Cullen. I've been speaking about him in the channel for a while. I've fallen in love with Josh Cullen. He's been this card that's gave me a reward 2 weeks ago. He has been giving me good scores for Burnley. So they've got a home game against Newcastle. The reason why I bought him in the team is because last few games, Burnley really need to win. So I'm hoping he continues his good form and Burnley surprise Newcastle. If I'm doing my kind of ideal scenario again, I want Burnley to be beating Newcastle like 2-0. 60 minutes, Newcastle bring Callum Wilson off the bench. Wilson scores 2 goals and equalizes 2-2. That's like the ideal scenario for my 270 team this week. And then these 3 guys with kind of good fixtures, they should hopefully deliver. So that's the thinking with the 270. It never goes the way you think. But let's see if it goes. And then the last 2 teams I'm putting out, these 2 teams aren't as serious. They're mainly to build XP points. The 240 and the 220. Both the goalkeepers aren't playing. So it's really punt. It's like these guys all have to smash. And if they do, they do. But it's unlikely Broja is going to do well because he's at the bench at Fulham. So again, I'm building him up for next season. Thiago Silva has announced he's going to leave Chelsea in the summer, which is actually good for my Sorare card because chances he's not said he's going to retire from football. So what I really want Thiago Silva to do is move to like a South American league, move to a league where it's a bit easier for him, but he can still clean up like 1 or 2 seasons, clean up some easy rewards, do really well in the points, help with my Chelsea bonuses. So my bonuses will be giving him bonuses wherever he goes next. So he's kind of in the team to build up his XP, but also he might get a game. I think with Chelsea's last few games of the season, he might get a few games with Chelsea's injuries. So he's a punt. He's in there. Cucurella could play for Chelsea at left back. I think Ben Chilwell's still not fit, so good chance he plays against West Ham. I'm going to captain Atuesta at LAFC. Why not? They've got a good fixture. The punt team. This is all punts. All 4 of those are punts and a DMP goalkeeper. 220 is the same. DMP goalkeeper and punts. I'm playing Zakaria, who's at Monaco for the first time. First time I've played him. He's a card that I bought for the Chelsea collection, and I've not actually had the chance to play him outside of that. I've just had him to help with my collection bonuses. But he's playing, I think, a really good team. They're either bottom or second to bottom, so it's another good fixture in the French league. He's at home, making him captain. Why not? It's the punt. It's a punt. And then I've got Badiashile because maybe he gets the game instead of Thiago Silva. So if Silva plays, I'll get this. If Badiashile plays, I'll get this. And then I hope Chalobah plays alongside one of those 2. And then the strikers is Nejli, the guy who's always on the bench at Rotterdam, but sometimes comes on and scores. And Palini at Fulham, who's gone a little bit off the boil, Palini. I'm hoping that's because he's leaving in the summer and he's not quite mentally there, but he has gone a bit off the boil. At one point, Paulinho was my top card at one point. Maybe it just shows how far I've come, you know? I've got better cards now, but at one point, Paulinho was my A card. So that's my teams for the weekend, people. Let me know in the comments what you think. Good luck with your weekends for May the 3rd to the 7th. That's my video. I'll see you next week. Peace.